This is A Man and Some Whiteboards, episode 2, and this one's dedicated to Phil Paul and Ryan Finken, who constantly will ask me why Greg Glassman is an idol of mine. And I don't know if you can say idol, but you can say I do have reverence for the old man. And you might say idol in one regard, and I'm going to break it down for you right now. You cannot tell the story of constantly varied functional movement at high intensity without telling the story of Greg Glassman. But the story doesn't start with Greg Glassman. It starts with his father, Jeff Glassman. Jeff Glassman was a distinguished rocket scientist and chief scientist for the Hughes Aircraft Company. He did lots of work for NASA and other things like that. A very, very intelligent, educated individual. Right? This is the stock that one Gregory Glassman came from. So naturally, you would expect Greg to do big things and become a gym teacher. That's how it all started, guys. Started as a gym teacher, just a dude, a guy with a passion for human movement. For years, he was training his methodology with personal clients out of garage, out of Gold's Gym, places like that, beating to his own drum, if you will, beating to the sound of his own drum. But what I need you to take from this is not that he's some loser because his dad was a rocket scientist and he became a gym teacher initially, right? It's that he did this. He was who he was. He chased his passion, and he used what he learned to build something in his own image. Okay, be who you are, chase your passion, use what you learn. And the effect that his father had on him was an obsession with MRO, measurable, repeatable, observable data. That's the scientific part that stuck with Greg, that helped drive a lot of what eventually he created with CrossFit, the brand CrossFit. And that is this obsession, this thing he learned from his father, led him to give us the first defined definition of fitness and measurable definition of fitness, which is work capacity over broad times and modal domains, which is mass times distance divided by time. What can you move? How far can you move it? And how little time can it take you? Right? That's what we get. That's fitness. That's how you define it. That's how you measure it. Okay? And not only did it allow him to define fitness, it helped him define how you achieve that fitness, which is constantly varied functional movement at high intensity, would yield greater work capacity over broad times and modal domains. Boom. You got it. That's it. That's the spark, I guess, that lit the candle. We have clearly defined what fitness is. We have clearly defined how we achieve fitness. Okay? And it didn't take right away. Like I said, he was training out of garages. He was training out of Globo gyms, Gold's Gym, whatever, right? Training personal clients. Trying to tell people that doing curls in the squat rack and taking 20-minute talk breaks between sets was stupid. It was not a good way to build fitness. And for a while, he was just yelling into the void because it wasn't taken. Okay? But out of all of that, what he found was if he chased the dollar bills, he chased the money. Okay? If he chased the dollar bills, he chased the money, things did not go for him the way he wanted to. But if he chased the excellence, it's not the money. Okay? You focus on what he does and doing it better than anyone else could do it. That's when success started to come your way. And that's what led to him believing in the professionalization of the trainer. Not the sport, not the nutrition, not the supplement, not the business, the professionalization of the trainer. Making the CrossFit trainer the greatest teacher, the greatest advocate, the greatest everything of functional fitness. And that's what he built with the HQ that he was in charge of. All decisions were based around that. No decisions were ever based around maximizing the revenue. From the beginning, Greg told the affiliates, and the reason that he had an affiliate model, and the reason that he had grandfathered rates, as in whatever the rate was at the time that you became an affiliate, you just kept that rate. The rates never went up. The reason was he, from the jump street, told the affiliates there's only 3 things that HQ can do for them. It can support them, and not in the way they think they can, like business-wise. He's not supporting them in, raising their bottom line, doing all that. The way he supported them was by having a media department that helped build and showcase the professionalized trainer, right? Show off his affiliates, show off his trainers, show off what they could do, show off the lives that were changed because of them. That was the support, guys. That's what the media department originally existed for. That's what it was all about, okay? And then it was to educate. So you had the subject matter experts. Once upon a time, if you went to a CrossFit seminar, they were the greatest educational experiences. Guys, when I got my L1, my L2, and all these certifications on the wall over here, it was the greatest educational experience I've ever had. And I have a 4-year degree in exercise science, guys, and I can tell you right now, in one weekend, multiple times in one weekend, from a CrossFit seminar, I learned more than I did in 4 years of collegiate education. More applicable, usable knowledge for my members and for my training. Okay? That's powerful, man. That's incredible stuff, right? But like I said, it's just that's out there. Like that's one thing we can do for you, and we're going to provide that at the greatest level. And then the other thing was to litigate, was to make sure that people couldn't come after you because you were a part of this brand, because you were educated by this brand, because you were supported by this brand. Make sure that the brand and the people that were a part of that ecosystem were protected, and to also make sure that the powers that be that would want to tear down those systems were put in check, put in their place, okay, to keep them from ever being a future threat to the methodology, a future threat to the ecosystem, the affiliates, and the trainers. Okay, that's the 3 things that Greg could do for you, and the HQ could do for you. And in his estimate, okay, that it only took so much money to do that, right? So the affiliate, the grandfather rate, the affiliate rate was literally like, okay, I now have enough money to do these 3 things. I don't need any more of your money. You just keep that same revenue churning in every year, and I can continue to support, educate, and litigate in your behalf, on your behalf, right? And I've heard him say it a million times. By the time this thing really got into full gear, full swing, I had a house, I had the truck, I had a house. My family was supported. I had the truck that I wanted to drive. He's like, what more money did I need, really? I didn't need more money. I had the things that I wanted or needed to survive, and then beyond that, I didn't need to milk every single drop out of the cow, is what he likes to say. And there's plenty of evidence to support this, guys. And most of it's based around the affiliate methodology, but like that board I drew up for you a while ago, where I talked about Greg's big passion was professionalizing the trainer, not the sport, not the nutrition, not the equipment, and not the business side of things all around it. The evidence is in everything that has thrived because he did not franchise CrossFit. At any point in time, Greg could have franchised CrossFit. He could have dictated the equipment you used. He could have dictated the way you coach a class. He could have dictated the workouts you do. He could have dictated the supplements that you push. He could have dictated that you have to use a certain nutrition plan. Like if your members come into your gym, you have to advocate for keto or whatever, okay? And he did none of that. And it starts with Rogue. Rogue's the biggest one. Guys, Rogue started from CrossFit. Rogue was a welder and his wife who liked doing CrossFit, and a welder, and they went to the CrossFit Games, and he was like, I think I can make you guys some cool stuff next year. Just hit me up. And now, in 2026, Rogue's set for an annual revenue of $380.2 million. Okay? At any point, Greg could have cut that pie down and been like, you have to work for CrossFit, or you have to brand everything CrossFit. Never did it. Yep. Not saying he didn't benefit as well, but Rogue would not exist as in its current state without the story of Greg Glassman. Some of the other things that we like in our community: Wadapalooza, NorCal Classic, Mayhem Classic, these events, these competitive events that bring the community together that some of you know as semifinals, so on and so forth. Greg could have franchised it and been like, you only can compete in these events to get to the CrossFit Games, and actually quite the opposite. When he did have central power over all of that, he got sick of it, tore it down, and said, give it to the community. It was getting too much towards the franchise side of things, the sport was, that Greg was like, guess what? That's not what I want. So he went to that sanctional system for a year and the invites for the national champs and all that great stuff. And honestly, in retros, like looking back on it, guys, it probably was the play. I think we'd be in a lot better place than we are now than just this whatever random hodgepodge and bullcrap method they're using for deciding who the fittest on earth are and how to get there is. Yeah. But one supplement, Greg advocated for one supplement in all of his time at the helm of CrossFit, and that was fish oil, omega-3 fatty acids. Could have put a CrossFit 03 out, could have branded it, could have taken a chunk of the $5.4 billion market share that's out there for omega-3 fatty fish oils. Could have got into that game. Didn't. Why? Because he said CrossFit couldn't build an omega-3 that was any different or any better for people to take than what was already out there in the supplement world. Think about that. $5.4 billion industry, market share. Could have cut into it pretty aggressively. Didn't do it because he didn't genuinely think that he could offer anything different than what was already out there. The zone is literally, when he advocated for the zone diet, if you will, the zone diet at the start of CrossFit, when he was pushing for that, it was literally a way to track your macros without pushing on people exactly what they need to eat. All he laid down was meats, vegetables, nuts, seeds, low starch, little fruit, no sugar. Okay, no excess sugar. That's what he laid down. And the zone was the method for tracking that. And he thought it made sense. Creating the blocks based off proteins, fats, carbohydrates. Track your blocks, boom, you're good. That's why he advocated for the zone. At any point, he could have cut in one of the fitness, nutritional diet plans or a specific nutritionist or nutrition company. Could have come in and could have taken a slice of the pie of the people jumping on the board to do it because Greg Glassman said to do it, and he could have taken that cut and he got nothing. He just tried to provide he tried to provide the people with the simplest tracking method he knew for nutrition. Business. Choosing the affiliate model. Hey, pay your fee. You're free to prescribe my methodology, my creation, however you see fit. Why? Because new and exciting things will come from that. Less new and exciting things come from me dictating every aspect of the business once you pay the fee. That was the thought. Creativity, ingenuity, that kind of stuff came from the affiliate model. It does not come from wanting HQ to solve all your problems. And Greg knew that. And that's why he stayed with the affiliate system, right? That individuality, that creativity that came from affiliates doing their own thing, their own program, having their own individual communities, and then we were all just under the umbrella that was CrossFit. But there was some individual flair and some uniqueness to the community that's gone when you're just looking for HQ to answer all of your questions and tell you what to do. And that's why he favored the affiliate model. And it's not maximizing revenue. Guys, at one point, this gym was under the franchise model for Acceleration Iowa side of things. That's why it dictates the colors on the wall, dictates the color on the ground, dictates the ends, tells you what workouts you should do, and takes a certain cut of your revenue because of it. Cut it a gross cut of your revenue because of that. And he never once delved into that. Right there. Plenty of evidence that that man made decisions not based on the bottom line, but on what was best for the methodology and the ecosystem he created. And in spite of all of that, He succeeded. Succeed in spite of conventional business methodology. That is something that Greg Glassman did. That is something that I hold near and dear to my heart. That is something that I want to do. That is something that I try to do on a daily basis, right? And he was out in front leading the pirate ship that was swimming in the waters with the cruise liners. The pirate ship that was staying in the water with the cruise liners, with the warships, all that stuff, it was hanging out in there and doing just fine. And that's really, I think anybody that gets into this, they get into this because they're a trainer first. They believe in the methodology, they believe in the fitness, and then they have a business associated with it, and they succeed in spite of maybe doing the thing that would be conventional for the business method. And I'm 35 years old, and I've spent a decade of my life now treading that path, and I can tell you it's not always easy, guys. It gets rough. The waters get choppy sometimes. But I do want it regardless. I live the life I live because this means so much to me, and it meant so much to a lot of people when the guy at the helm was doing the same thing. And you're like, oh, well, easy to say when he got rich, right? But you guys all forget. In 2019, at maybe the height of what people thought CrossFit was, he tanked the media. He really took control of the programming, right? He went after your grandparents. When we all thought that the CrossFit Games and the athletes drove interest, drove revenue, drove all that for CrossFit, he said, y'all have forgot what this whole thing's about. This whole thing is about a fitness methodology that can yield a greater level of fitness for everybody over the course of their life. And so he immediately tanked the things. He tanked the things that you thought made CrossFit what it was, right? He changed the whole game format. He gave control of the games back to the community, essentially, how to get to the games back to the community. He tanked the media department. That's something I still don't see eye to eye with him on this day. I think he probably should have reworked the media department, but tanking it was crazy, just getting rid of people and not showing off that side of things anymore. Retaking control of the blog. He thought the programming was getting too elite for everybody, and he was like, I just wanted simpler workouts that everybody can do, and if you are a fire breather, you will just do it harder and faster than everybody else. Kind of a beautiful concept, something to think of. And then going after your grandparents, when everybody thought this thing was built on six-pack abs and people flexing and neck veins as they ran across the finish line, Greg was trying to remind us that this is a fitness methodology for life, not just a competitive game that gets played once a year. And that was contradictory to what the entire community thought CrossFit was at the time, or thought this is where it's going. And I think that kind of put him on edge. And then he fired off a tweet that a lot of people didn't like. And I think he just got sick of all the complaining and whining by the people thriving and living off the ecosystem that he built and that he created. And he goes, hey, guess what? I just tweeted a $250 million tweet. But at the end of the day, what he did is exactly what I think most people that got into this game for. You beat to the sound of your own drum. You do the common uncommonly well, and you succeed in spite of conventional business methodology. You're not in this game to get rich. You're in this game to do right by people. You're in this game to try to help other people. You're in this game to help people establish a level of fitness, a better level of fitness for the duration of their life. And Greg walked the walk on that front, and everything I just ran you through, the story of Greg Glassman, proves it, and it's clearly something that is sorely missed right now within the community. So, Phil, thinking? You guys wanted to know why Greg Glassman is my idol, or why I have such reverence for the old man still? He did the thing I've been trying to achieve for a decade at the highest level. And like any other human being, he has a lot of shortcomings. He has a lot of issues. like we all do, man. Right? We're not all perfect human beings. But he is the shining example of what people in this industry got into it for and what it takes to succeed in spite of all the things that will pull you away from that original belief, that original prescription, that original dream that is gym ownership, or that is CrossFit, or is constantly varied functional movement, high intensity. So, episode 2, out.